Hi everybody, welcome to a Crochet Extras tutorial, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a crochet flower, and this tutorial is going to be for absolute beginners, so it's going to be slow. But I'm going to be showing you guys how to make these cute and simple little crochet flowers using two different colours, so starting with a centre colour and having different coloured petals. And we're going to be using our very own yarn. We're going to be using some Happy Berry Baby Snuggles yarn in our pink, in our peachy pink, and our white snow as well. But this is a DK, a light worsted weight yarn, but you can use any yarn that you like, that you have lying around. And I'm going to be using a 3mm crochet hook to go with this yarn. But you can of course use a 3.5 if you want to, or any hook size that is suitable for the yarn that you're using. And you're also going to need a pair of scissors and a yarn tapestry needle as well, which is a type of needle that has a much bigger hole at the end, eye at the end, so you can thread in yarn. So you can need one of those. Okay, so let's begin. Okay, so whatever colour you want to have in the middle of your flower is the colour we're going to begin with first. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our white and we're going to go really slowly, so hopefully some absolute beginners new to crochet can give this a try. So the first thing I do is we need to create a slip knot, and a quick and easy way to do that, I always say quick and easy, but hopefully you will find it quick and easy, is we're going to place the tail end of our yarn. We always call these the tail ends. I'm going to place that just in front of my fingers like that. So just hold it with my thumb. And then I'm just going to turn my hand over. I'm going to tuck those two fingers away, and then I'm just going to wrap the yarn around my fingers and let them cross over the top. So I'm literally just going to wrap the yarn around my two fingers and have them cross over at the top, and I'm still holding the tail end with my thumb. And then I'm going to use my third finger just to hold that into place as well, and I've still got them crossed over like so. Then I'm going to take my hook, my crochet hook, and I'm going to put my hook under that first loop, into that first bit that's underneath, and then the bit of yarn that goes over the top, I'm going to just twist my hook round and grab that, and I'm just going to pull it underneath. So I'm just going to pull it through. And then what you want to do is just let go of everything, just let go of everything, and keep that loop on your hook. And then you just pull your tail end, both of them, to tighten a little slip knot on your hook. Okay, so I shall show you that again. So what we do is we just wrap the tail end in front, just hold it in front like that, and I just use my thumb to hold it in place. And then I turn my hand over and I just wrap the yarn around my two fingers and cross them over, and use my third finger and the fourth really to capture that and hold it into place. I'm still holding it with my thumb, using those two fingers to hold that, so they cross over, and I put my hook under the one underneath like that, and then the one that's going over the top I'm just going to pull underneath. So I'm just going to grab that with my hook like so, and then making sure you just twist your hands back around, making sure you keep that loop on your hook. Just let go of everything, and then just pull your tail end. We have to pull both a bit really. Pull both, and that creates a little slip knot. And there we are. That's the beginning of our flower. So when you've got your slip knot, what we're going to do is we're going to do some chaining. And to chain, this is how I'm going to hold it now, is I tend to sometimes hold the little loop on our hook now. I've got one loop. Just hold that with this finger. And I tuck the yarn that I'm working with, I just hold that over these three fingers like so, and I use these three fingers to keep a tension, you know, just keep it a little bit tight, not too tight that we can't work with anything, but not too loose that it all gets a bit loose and you can't work with it, so it just keeps a little bit of tension. And sometimes I use these two fingers just to hold the tail end underneath, so it just keeps everything a little bit more under control like so. And then to chain, what we do is, you can see my hook's facing up, so I'm going to put it underneath. So I'm coming to the front here of the yarn, to this side of the yarn I'm going to work with, down here, this side. I'm going to tuck my hook underneath from the front to the back, like so, and then that wraps the yarn over my hook. And then I'm just going to pull that, use the hook just to pull that through, but as I come through the loop on my hook, I'm going to twist the hook downwards, so you can see the hook twisting downwards, and I'm still using these two fingers to control it, otherwise it gets a bit, starts doing all this. So just by having these two fingers hold on to the tail end, it keeps it all facing the right way. So I'm going to tuck my hook to the front and underneath, so I'm just going to tuck it underneath, and then just pulling down a little bit to opens up the loop as well on the hook. As I come under the loop, I'm just going to twist my hook down and bring that yarn through, and as I come through the other side, I'm going to twist the hook back up again. And there we go, we've done one chain. And one chain is like a little V, creates a little V of yarn there. So what we're going to do is we're going to do that 4 times. So there's our first chain. We need 4 chains. So again, I'm going to go underneath my yarn and come through the loop of my hook, and I'm just going to twist down as I go through. Still again using these fingers to pull down, to open up that loop, and then twist my hook back up when it comes through. Now we've got 2 sort of V shapes, so 2 chains. And then you can move your fingers up to start holding onto the chains, and then go underneath the yarn again and do another one. So now we've got 3, 1, 2, 3. And move my fingers up again just to hold these chains, and we do one more, like so. So we've got 4 chains. You can see they're like little V shapes. You've got the knot on the end, and then a V shape there, a V shape there, a V shape there, and a V shape there. So we've got 4 chains. And for our flower, what we're going to do is we're going to do a slip stitch into the first chain. Okay, so to do a slip stitch, I'm still holding the yarn with a little bit of tension there, and I'm still using these 2 fingers just to hold on to my project, and still using this finger just to keep that under control as well. So to do a slip stitch into our first chain, and our first chain, there's our knot on the end there. Our first chain is going to be this V shape. So if I just bring that off, it's a bit hard to see in white, but you can see a little V, little V shape. That's our first chain. And if your hook ever comes out, by the way, it always goes back in from the front to the back, so it always goes back in that direction, so you don't put it back in this way, it goes in from the front like so. So that's always a handy hint to remember. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our hook in this first chain. So I'm just going to loop it, well, I'm just going to put my hook underneath that side of the V, so like the left side of the V, so it's just going under one bit of yarn. And then I'm going to do the same thing again and bring the yarn through. And it's the same thing, you go from the left, tuck in underneath, just like we did for the chaining. And I'm just going to pull it, and as I pull it through, I twist my hook down to come through. Like that. So you should end up with 2 loops on your hook. We're going to carry on pulling that same loop through that second one, so it goes straight through. And that does a slip stitch. Slip stitch just comes through your stitch and straight through the loop on your hook. And what that has done is that's created a little loop of your 4 chains, and they're joined at the beginning and the end. Okay, so what we're going to do now is in the middle of your little loop you should see a hole right in the middle. I don't know if I can see that, I'll put it over my finger. You may see a hole there, but that's your first chain, so you have to be careful not to confuse it with that. But if you see in the middle there, see that there? That's a hole, and that's just literally the centre of your loop of 4 chains, and it's into that centre there that we need to put our hook. And this can be a little bit fiddly, but if you can't quite see that hole there, so not this big one at the top, that's our chain, that hole there, if you can't see that, you can just place your hook in the middle and then just push through, and it should just go through the centre like so. And what we're going to do is we're going to work some stitches into that centre. Okay, so we're going to work, I think we shall do 5 single crochet, I think. So what I want to do is put your hook in the middle, so find that centre loop. It does get more noticeable the more stitches you create, so making sure not to go into that chain one which looks really obvious, but that centre hole, and put our hook through the centre like so, and then still using these 2 fingers to hold on to whatever you can just about grab. And we do the same thing again. We're going to go underneath the yarn and then bring it through the centre, so it comes through the middle. Okay, so you end up with 2 loops on your hook, but this time what we're going to do, instead of going straight through the second loop, we're going to do a single crochet. So we're going to put our hook underneath our yarn again, still using these fingers to keep a bit of tension, otherwise it gets a bit loose. Underneath, and then just twist the yarn down and bring it through both loops, 1 and 2. Okay, and that creates a single crochet, our first single crochet. We need 5 of these, so now we've got 1, we need to do another one. So we put our hook back into that centre hole again, it should start getting a bit bigger, and again just coming underneath, grabbing the yarn, bringing it through the middle, and then moving these fingers to hold on to those stitches, going underneath the yarn again and bring it through both loops. Now we've got our second single crochet, so we need to do 3 more, and you can see the centre hole starting to get bigger now, so just making sure that your loop's not too big on your hook. Go through the centre again, bit through, go underneath, grab the yarn and bring it through the middle, and then I always use this finger to just hold things, and then use these 2 to hold that. Get this tail end out the way and go underneath the yarn again and bring it through both loops. Okay, so now we've got 3 single crochet. Tail end out of the way, 1, 2 and 3. And then we just need to do 2 more, so we're going to go back into the centre, underneath the yarn, grab the yarn, bring it through the middle, so you've got your 2 loops, 1 and 2. Move these fingers round just to keep that tail out the way, hold on to it. Go underneath the yarn again, and then twist that hook down and come through the 2 loops, 1 and 2. So now you've got 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We need to do 1 more. So you can see that hole's becoming much more noticeable now. And we go back into the centre again, go underneath from the left, bring it down from the right, come through, you've got 2 loops, 1 and 2, and then underneath the yarn again, pull it down, twist that hook down, bring it through the 2 loops, and that's another single crochet. Now you've got 5 single crochets. And you can see the single crochets because they're V's again, but they're on the side. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Hook in from the front. So we've got 5 single crochets. And what we're going to do now is we're going to introduce our second colour. We can just pull your tail end tight now, that closes any centre holes a little bit. We're going to join our next colour, which is going to be the colour of the petals. But the first we need to introduce our colour via a slip stitch, and we're going to slip stitch into our first single crochet. So find that first V, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See that little V on the end there, how much you can see in the white, but when I put my hook under you should see. And you want to put your hook through that V, so it goes under 1 loop and then the second loop, you see, and it catches those 2, goes underneath those 2 bits of yarn through that stitch, which is sort of on the side of your little mini circle. Now normally we would yarn over, bring the yarn through of the white, but because we want to introduce our new colour, we're going to yarn over with the pink. So just go through that stitch and put your project down for a second, like everything falling apart, and we're going to cut the white yarn. Okay, so we've finished with that. So let's put that aside and then bring in the colour you want to use for your petals. So I'm going to use a nice pink. Okay, and then pick up your project again, and you've left it where you've actually gone through the stitch, and let's just work out the one we're working with. If you leave the one that you've cut a bit longer, you'll know which one you're working to. So you would yarn over with the white. We're going to leave that, and instead we want to bring our new colour in, and we just want to drape it over our hook with the tail end to the right side, this side, so the tail end, the end piece, this side, and then just use your finger just to hold it in place for a second, and then use these two fingers, which I'm always using to hold everything, to hold your white part of your project and the pink together. So use those to hold it, and that will stop this slipping off, and then pull that through. So you then just pull that through the stitch like so, and straight through the other loop as well, because we're doing a slip stitch. And now almost looks the same colour, but now we're working with the pink and not the white, and you might want to just hold it and then pull any tail ends, pull the pink tail ends to make it as tight, and just holding it again with these two fingers. What we're going to do now is we're going to work the petals. So what we're going to do first is we're going to do a chain one. So we're just going to go underneath our yarn just like we did before, twist it through and bring it through the loop. Okay, and you can see we've got another V appear, and that's another chain. Okay, little V shape of yarn. So we've done a chain one at the beginning. And now what we want to do is we want to do a double crochet. We want to do a double crochet. Okay, so to do a double crochet, before we work into the stitch, we need to wrap the yarn around our hook. So we end up with two loops, 1 and 2 on our hook. So just from the back, just wrap it round, and then use those fingers again just to keep a bit of tension so it doesn't slip off. Wrap the yarn round, use these two to hold on to everything. And then I'm just going to place the hook through the same first single crochet that we slip stitched into. So when we joined the pink, we went through that first single crochet, that little V shape. We want to go into there again. So just making sure these stay on, we're going to put our hook through that same first single crochet again. You see we've gone under two bits of yarn again, it's the same one. And then again, bring the yarn through. So just pull your hook down, bring that yarn through, and then you should have 3 loops. You've got the one you were working with, and then the one we've wrapped round, and then one we've just pulled through. And then we put our hook underneath the yarn again, so wrap the yarn underneath, hook underneath, and then pull the yarn through, but this time we're going to put it through the first 2 loops. We're only going to put it through these 2, these 1 and 2. So we're going to come underneath, twisting that hook down, bring it through the first 2, and then twist that hook up so it pops up, and it should leave you with the 2 loops, the one you've just pulled through and the one left. So then we do the same again, we just go underneath that yarn, then twist the hook down and bring it through, whoops, quickly twist up to catch it, and then through those last 2, and that's done a double crochet. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to do a triple crochet, which gets it's the hardest one I think out of this video. And to do that we need to wrap the yarn around our hook twice. So there's once and then twice. And you may find that they slip off a bit, you may think, oh, they keep slipping off. So wrap the yarn around twice, and then just use these 3 fingers to keep that little bit of tension and stop it slipping off. And you can also use this finger just to hold anything in place. Okay, so I find just holding the yarn keeps it on your hook a bit better. But you don't want to put it really tight, because if you put it really tight you can't work for the stitches. You just want to keep enough momentum, enough looseness so that it can move up and down your hook, but enough tension that it doesn't slip off. And then we want to go into the same stitch again, so that same stitch again. So let's put your hook through that same first single crochet again, same one again, and just bring that yarn through the stitch. And then this time you've got 4 loops. You've got the very beginning one, the 2 you wrapped around, it's getting a bit stringy this yarn, that's why we used 2 you wrapped around, 1 and 2, and then the one you've just pulled through. And we want to pull through the first 2 again, so find those first 2 loops and then underneath, wrap your hook underneath the yarn and bring it through the first 2, and all you do is just twist the hook down, and when you think you get through the first 2, make sure you twist that hook up so it faces up again and it catches the yarn to stop it slipping off. So you've pulled it for the first 2, which leaves you 3, the very beginning one wrap around and one you've pulled through. And we want to yarn over, go underneath that yarn again and put it through the next 2. And then just quickly twist it up when you get, now you can see there I haven't gone completely through. You could leave it if you wanted to, or you could be brave and just pop it under that last bit of yarn. It's coming out of focus. There we go. So you should be left with 2 loops, and all we do is we just bring that yarn through the last 2. Okay, and that's done a treble. So effectively we've got a chain, a double crochet and a treble crochet now, all in that first stitch. And that single first chain that we did, which is there, we're going to count that as a single crochet. We're counting that as a stitch, and there's your, that's your double crochet stitch on the edge there, and that's the treble. You see they're all like little V shapes like that. So then we're going to bring our petal back down. We've done half a petal, and you may want to just move the stitches over a bit because we're still working stitches into that first stitch. So we're going to do a double crochet again, which is this one in the middle. So we just wrap the yarn around once this time and go back into the same stitch again and bring the yarn through. Okay, so you've got 3 loops. First one, the one you wrapped around, the one you brought through, and then go underneath that yarn again and bring it through the first 2 loops. Twist that hook up to make sure it doesn't slip off. Leaves you with 2 loops, and then go underneath that yarn, twist that hook down and bring it through those 2 as well. That's a double crochet. Then we're going to finish up with a single crochet. So we don't wrap around any yarn, we just go straight into that stitch again. So you go straight into that first stitch again, see, same one again, and then go underneath the yarn and just pull the yarn through. So you've got 2 loops. Always moving my fingers around to hold everything. Go underneath the yarn, pull it down, just put it through those 2. And that's our first petal finished, with a chain, a double crochet, a treble, which is at the widest part, and then came back down the other side with a double and a single. Okay, and that's our first little petal. And we just repeat that, those stitches in each of our single crochets around the circle. So now we're going to work into the next single crochet. So find your next V and just put your hook through it. There you go. So you're going under like 2 loops of yarn into that next stitch. And then we're just going to do a single crochet. So we're going to put our hook under, bring it through. So you've got 2 loops. And just move it over and then go underneath, pull it through, quickly twist the hook up. You've got a single crochet, and then the next one was a double crochet, so we have to wrap the yarn around our hook once, keeping a little bit of tension, not too tight, not too loose. Then put your hook through that stitch again, so the same stitch, and then we're going to bring the yarn through the stitch. You've got 3 loops, and then just moving my fingers around to hold it and go underneath. But we bring it through, just that hook down, bring it through just the first 2. When you get for the first 2, flip upwards, like so. I gone through all of that? No, I've missed it again, so I'm going to bring it down again, and there we go. And leaves you 2 loops, and then we go underneath the yarn and bring it through the last 2. That does a double crochet. And now we do a treble, so we wrap the yarn round twice like that, so you end up with 3 loops. And then I'm just going to put it through the hook, through the stitch again, like so. And I'm going to grab the yarn and bring it through the stitch, and then we've got 4 loops. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we go underneath the yarn and bring it for the first 2. So I'm twisting down, popping it for the first 2, and twisting that hook up to come up at the right moment. Leaves us with 3 loops, and then we go on to the next 2, so we go underneath the yarn, bring it through the next 2. You can always do a little wiggle and bring it up. Leaves us with 2, and then underneath the yarn again, and then just bring it for the last 2, twisting that hook back up at the end. And there's our treble. And then we come back down to do, and we do a double again, so we just wrap the yarn around once, around the hook once, go back into that same stitch, bring the yarn through, 3 loops, moving these fingers over to hold it, go underneath the yarn again and pop it through the first 2. Leaves you with 2, and then underneath the yarn again and twist it through the last 2 to do a double crochet. Might want to move the stitches over, and then we finish up on a single crochet. So we don't wrap the yarn around the hook at all, we just go straight into that same stitch. Gets a bit tight at the end, but we can just bring the yarn through. So you've got 2 loops, and then go underneath, pop that yarn through both loops. There you go, and there's your second petal. So we repeat that for the last 3. So I'm just going to repeat that for the last 3, and I'll try and do it as slowly as I can. So we go into the next stitch this time to find the next 2 little bits there, the next stitch, and we're going to start off with a single crochet. Just bring the yarn through, underneath, bring it through like so. Then a double crochet, so we wrap the yarn around our hook once, just keeping that tension. Go into the same stitch again, bring the yarn through, 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, give it a wiggle until you get to where you think, and then twist that hook up, and underneath the yarn bring it through the last 2. Then we need to do our treble, so we wrap it round twice. Get some more yarn. Wrap it round twice, like so, just using your fingers to keep them a little bit of tension there so it stays on. Get back into the same stitch. Bring the yarn through. You've got 4 loops this time you're working with, and we need to go through the first 2. We always go through the first 2, so underneath that yarn, and then bring it for the first 2, we'll give it a little wiggle and then twist that hook up at the right moment. Leaves you with 3 loops. Underneath the yarn again for the next 2. A little wiggle. Come up. But hard doing it slowly. See, I've actually gone too far this time. But if that does happen, you've still got a sort of fairly good loop left, you can cheat and just go under and bring it through all loops, because it's really not going to make a huge difference. And then we go back to doing a double, so wrap the yarn round the hook once, it's the same stitch, bring the yarn through, yarn over, underneath the yarn, bring it for the first 2, and up, under again, bring it through the last 2, done. Move those stitches over, and then we're doing a single crochet, so we don't wrap the yarn around our hook, and go into that stitch again. Make sure you're still going into the same stitch. Bring the yarn through, so you've got 2 loops, underneath the yarn and bring it through the last two, all two loops, like so, and there's your third petal. And we just repeat that twice more, because we've got 5 single crochets in the white. And we go into the next one now. There we go, going under those 2 bits of yarn. Start off with a single crochet. Then a double, so wrap the yarn around once, go into the same stitch, yarn through, pull through 2, whoa, there you go, underneath, pull through 2, then a treble, so wrap it round twice, move those stitches over, go back in, through, you've got 4 loops, then pull through the first 2, leaves you with 3, pull it for the next 2, leaves you with 2, pull it for the last 2. Then a double to come back down, so just wrap it round once, go in, yarn through, pull through first 2, twist it up, grab the yarn and bring it for the last 2, finish your double crochet, and then finish on a single crochet, so we don't yarn over, we just go straight back in. And what I do is I just push where all those stitches seem to be coming from, pull the yarn through 2 loops. I'm always moving those fingers over just to hold everything, and there we go. So there's the next petal, and then one more. Should have 1 stitch left. Where's the last stitch? There you are. So single crochet, yarn over once for a double, and then any stitch that's a double crochet or upwards, we pull for the first 2. Always pull through 2 loops until you basically end up with 1 loop again. There we go, so I'll double, then I'll treble, yarn over twice, keeping that tension. Go into the stitch again. Running out of time on my camera, so I'm going to pull through 2, leaves you with 3, pull through 2, pull through 2. And then a double, yarn over once, pull through 2, pull through 2, and then a single, so no yarning over. And there we go, we've finished. We've got our 5 petals, so all those stitches worked into those 5. And just to finish, what I'm going to do is, in the very first stitch there where all those first petal stitches are going into, I'm just going to put my hook, and then making sure the yarn, pink yarn's at the back, I'm just going to bring it through like so, and then I'm going to bring it straight through the loop on the hook to do a slip stitch. So that just brings the last petal in, and then I'm going to cut my yarn. And then when you cut your yarn, you can then just use your hook just to pull through until the tail end comes through, and that just creates a knot. And then all we need to do is tie in our tail ends. So we get our yarn needle, and I'll finish with this one first, thread it on. And then I'm going to go back in to that first stitch where all those petals are coming through. So I'm going to go back into there again, but with the needle. And that just brings the, get these that way, just brings the stitch down like so. Okay, and then we turn it over. And to hide a tail end, if you want to, you might want to use these tail ends to sew it onto something. But on the back, all I do is I just sew through a few stitches and then back in the opposite direction, and that just keeps it in place, and then you can just trim any excess off like so. You can repeat it for these ones if you want to. But there we go, there's our finished little flower, and I really hope you've managed to follow along if you're new to crochet. I hope I went slow enough, and you do have to get used to, I think the most important thing is trying to keep that tension with your left hand or right hand, depending on if you're left-handed, just to make sure that the yarn stays tight as you work. But I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. Hope you managed to follow along, and I will see you soon for some more crochet fun. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.